Good evening. You're listening live to the Xtreme Movie Show. I'm your host, Rob, broadcasting to you from the Pine Hills Palace, just west of Orlando, Florida, here in Central Florida. And I have from the Great Midwest joining me on my international stream. I have RDB from the Great Midwest. And here on 2023 Valentine's Day, we're reaching back in the Black History Month archives and we're going with some blaxploitation flicks. And tonight's movie is a karate goodness one called Black Belt Jones with Jim Kelly, who's actually kind of like a Black Chuck Norris in a different way. He's a legit dude. This is a fun action film. It covers all the blaxploitation type stuff, checks all those boxes. It's a bit more entertaining than what you think it might be if you think it's a bit of a gimmick, but definitely RDV in the 70s, you had this rage of actors turning into megastars a little bit, especially if they had a legit background. Chuck Norris being one of the first ones that we think about. Bruce Lee, of course, comes to mind. But when we talk about blaxploitation films, whether it's Blackula and vampire type movies and themes of race and other things that come up in it, here you just got kind of a good old, hey, don't mess with us here in the hood and it'll be all right. But we got a good guy, and I think it works. And as much as he's done a lot of other films, I don't know how big a star really got, because I recognized him. Oh, the dude from whatever that's got good mutton chops. But I actually like the karate in this. This was kind of hip and kind of stylish, very entertaining. Black Belt Jones too. I like this film a lot. I'm glad we're getting a chance to talk about it. Now, I want to ask you: is this your first take? I know we haven't covered a lot of blaxploitation type films here. What's your initial review of it, or your initial take?
This is my first time watching this movie. When I first started watching it, I'm like, I didn't know. I thought it was gonna be serious at first, till he started doing like the Bruce Lee noises. Yeah. And then of course everyone else. When you meet Pinky in here and Pops, in here, you really tell you're like they're doing goofiness. They're doing action, somewhat serious. The martial arts is serious, but everything else is pretty much like this like what you'd see in a regular black exploitation film. You got the guy yelling at the woman, telling her shut up, and it's like she's complaining. He's like, okay, go. She's like, I'll wipe I'll smack the black off your face. I'm like, whoa. It's the first time I've ever heard that before. That was kind of crazy. And then he's like, well, I love it. He yells back at her. He's like, well, I didn't hear you complain last night. You were moaning and groaning. And I'm just like, I'm like, it's like, wow. Like I said, it's comedy. It's got a story. It's got action, I mean, before action, there was Action Jackson. There was Jim Kelly.
That's right.
Dude, I gotta say, he's got to be a freaking tall man here. Trying to look up, see how tall he was, but 6'2". Yeah. He's kind of lanky, he's kind of skinny, but he's still toned. And like I said, it's there. Probably my favorite scene in this whole entire movie is a scene in there when the bad guy is Pinky, because he wants to take over the pop shop for these other gangsters. So they come over at nighttime, and he tells the other guy, he's like, "Here, every 3 seconds, turn a light on." And you see him just like kicking people's ass, and then the lights goes off, and then they're panicking, and the lights come out, and he starts kicking it. He's like, the first thing that happens, he's like, "Who hit me?" He's like, "I'm Batman." It's like, what the heck? Like, the first I've heard Batman name dropped in something that's not like Warner Brothers
or a comedy.
Yeah.
Animated film.
Sadly, he died back in 2019.
Yep.
Born in 46. So I mean, he led a healthy life. He's got a few movies under his belt. No pun intended. But man, it's a fun movie. I thought this was going to be like, oh my gosh, it's going to be really this kind of hokey, whatever. But the music, just the comedy, the guy who plays Pinky, I'm trying to remember what his name is in here. Malik Carter is the actor. He is just hilarious in this.
And if you notice, a lot of, I think, films from the 70s and 80s, people think about like Eddie Murphy and stuff that he did and how he played like a lot of roles in films, especially in the late 80s going into the 90s. And if you watch something like Undercover Brother, which kind of is like the spiritual successor to this, kind of, sort of, in a way, just a little bit different and pokes fun of itself, you got to go, well, where did all this come from? Is it just a black thing and people are making up jokes or like that? No, it goes back to these movies here in the 70s, because you're right, having that side character that just is there for yucks or whatever, the comedy relief is who you're talking about. Yeah, absolutely, you can trace it back to these films.
Yeah, I mean, and everything they say in this movie, I don't think they would be able to do this kind of movie. Just the way he talks to Sydney in here, played by Gloria Hendry. And he's like, "Woman, go tend to those dishes," and she pulls out a gun. She shoots the dishes. He's like, "There, the dishes are done." It is just great in this, and it's just, man. And then Pop, played by Scatman,
Scatman Crothers.
Crothers, man. Mm-hmm. It's just hilarious in this, It's just the exchange between all of them. It did not skip a beat. It didn't feel like there's any lulls in the movie. It just kept going. Literally, there was only one scene, and it was like probably 20 minutes left in the movie. It almost felt like it was done, and then they realized, oh my gosh, there's still more to go. It just felt like, okay, that I thought, like, okay, I thought that was the end of the movie. I thought that was the climax. They go in, they break into place, and then you see, Pinky got set up. He's being attacked by the mob guys, who are not really that intimidating.
Or buffoons. I mean,
big tuna.
Yeah. The beginning of the film, where the mob guys, they go to a wine cellar dispensary for the exchange of the cash and everything, and whack the dude there. That was kind of cool in a stupid way. But you're right; these guys are not intimidating. They were meant to be caricatures, obviously.
Oh.
Yeah, and so they're poking fun at the Mafia, which at the time, people took the Mafia a bit more seriously than they do now, especially in film.
Yep. Like I said, so I guess Jim Kelly, he died when he was 67 years old, man. That's young. So
yeah, no, Jim Kelly was a big time athlete. Could have played football. Could have. He was a pretty good tennis player, from what I've heard too from tennis people.
That's what I was wondering. How did he's in the movies here? I thought maybe he would have been. Is this guy like you see like a basketball star, and then he from
champion?
Yeah,
basically Norris, him, and a couple others. There's was a Superfoot Bill Wallace. I mean, the karate thing was really exploding in the United States in the 60s and 70s with people coming back from Vietnam and being overseas. And, of course, with Bruce Lee, we had this thing in the 70s, this movement where you saw it a lot. And in blaxploitation films, definitely, they took it upon themselves to put that in several of these movies. And so Jim Kelly, coming off was Enter the Dragon, he's a very memorable character in there. We talked about John Saxon there and some others, but when he got this as his vehicle as a starring role, you had to clearly build it around his strengths. So, of course, they gave you all the hip stuff with the guitar, and you could always tell if it's funk or a 70s film or a combination, because the guitar is going to sound like this. Waka chicka, waka chicka, waka chicka.
I know.
and it works, and it really sets the tone for what's about to happen. Because, I mean, you can talk about the story, but nobody cares about it. Mafia coming in, pushing in on this one guy who had a secret backdoor loan with somebody else, and Jim Kelly kind of gets involved to help save it, and a lot of fighting ensues. Because you're right, a crap ton of action in this film, more than you would think. They don't spend a lot of time with story and then fights. They're like, no, it just exists to have some goofy one-liners, shooting at dinner plates, and then beat people up.
My bad. I didn't have my volume down. So continue. But
No, you're good. No, but I want to talk a little bit about the lady you talk about here, Gloria Hendry. Those of you that obviously have listened here on the Xtreme Movie Show to our monthly review of the James Bond franchise here in series, she was in Live and Let Die. She was the one, Rosie Carver, that James Bond got involved with there too, especially when they got to the island. She was the contact that found the stuff under his bed, and then she went to the island with Bond, and yeah, it's a beautiful woman, very athletic, Playboy bunny in her own right. So she's a notable person. This was not Jim Kelly and a bunch of C-level stiffs the studio slapped together and said, you got to be in there. They did do a good job of trying to support it. And back then with movies, they would be out a little bit longer, and sometimes you would have a B film that you would literally stick onto a first film of something. So you could go see like Rocky Balboa, then like Food of the Gods, or Rocky Balboa at the drive-in, followed by this. Or you could have a blaxploitation thing where you might have like this and then like Black Caesar or something. And that's kind of how it was going to drive-ins a little bit, or even regular movie theaters. And this one, like I say, it's weird because you don't hear his name a lot unless you're really hardcore into action films and you really understand them. And we've talked about Amy Johnston, her films, and how she's kind of reimaged some of them in her own way. And, she's legit trained. Her father was a big-time kickboxer. So with Kelly, I mean, it just jumps off the screen to you, doesn't it? Just how athletic he is, just like Chuck. I mean, it's like, come on, man, this guy's good. I wish we'd see a bit more of that from him too. And he does have a lot of
Yep.
films, but I agree with you. This is a very enjoyable film. It's definitely worth watching. It's dated, but do you think that's a bad thing?
No, like I said, sometimes dated movies, like for this, well, I would. It's because of the '70s and slang they thought they used there. But there's still a lot of things you see in movies today. You see the comedies, but you see the action. But overall, though, like I said, I just love the exchange, the dialogue in this. It's a steady pace, not fast pace, but it's a steady pace. Your movie keeps you going. You don't miss a beat. You just the stunts in here. There's a scene where Jones kicks a guy, and you see him slow motion going through the window. I was like, it's so bad, but I mean, it's like they know what's supposed to be. And that's the thing, though. It's like if you watch Blazing Saddles, they know it's supposed to be a joke. They know it's a joke, but you just can't help to be like admire it. It's like like you're not like this movie is set up for laughs.
Yeah,
it's different, and it's Enter the Dragon, which was a year before this, and then they filmed this right afterwards. And then in '73, before this, he had Cleopatra Jones, which is another martial arts black exploitation, film. And like I said, it's kind of crazy how these all connect together. And these are all done by the Shaw Brothers. A lot of them were. Well, the original Hong Kong studio movie initiated, which came with Five Fingers of Death, which came out in '72, but it led off into these movies. And usually when people say like, "Oh, it's a black exploitation movies," nowadays they kind of like really don't capture what the original black exploitation was back then, because a lot of I guess the people making stuff today do not understand it, or they refuse to
acknowledge it.
Just and they want to make a movie, but instead of making it like a good movie or say they make it very racial in that sense. Like, and so they'll see like something, how he treats, Jones treats the woman here, and instead they'll make the woman in charge of everything. There's no equalness. There's no like they have to put their politics into it instead of just putting it like the way it is. Because
well, if you back up a little bit and to use your Blazing Saddles as an example here, when we talk about culture and integrating, people say, "Oh, it's a movie that could be made today," and all that. It's funny then, it's funny now. And the thing is when you tell a joke, whatever it is you're making fun of, if you actually, hate what it is you're trying to tell a joke of or whatever, you're being mean-spirited about it, and it comes across that way as not funny or forced. So obviously they're making fun of the stereotypes of men and women in the household. And it's like a wink and a nod, but they're doing it in a way that's funny to them. It shows them as a strong couple, with her shooting the dishes. It sounds silly, but the 70s was very big at showing a lot of equity in relationships and women being very strong and independent. So they introduced that. So they like that, and they put a scene like that, and you go, "Oh, they're just making a woman look smaller, like she's got to know her role." No, that's the whole joke, is we know that's not what it is, but we're going to put that in there anyway, and everybody's fine with it.
Like, my point is, if they did it today, you wouldn't have someone like character like Pinky. It would just be the white guy is the bad guy. There is no evil black guy because politics, you can't do that. You might offend somebody. So the jokes, we can't do this because somebody gets offended. It limits your creativity, and it gets to the point where why are you even making the movie if you can't even do what you creative freedom like you had to back then?
Right.
You, like I said, people don't realize you have a right to be offended, and you also have a right to laugh at things. Most people laugh at things. If you're not able to laugh at yourself or laugh at just stupid things because it's stupid, it's I feel sorry for you. It's the comedy is really been limited to what they can do. I said. So going back to these movies like this, these aren't racist movies. These aren't because how they portray this person or this.
They're cultural, and that's the whole term blaxploitation. Is that if we go there as a white guy and we're watching this, we're seeing kind of the whole black cultural experience, or at least how it's projected in this one movie. And that doesn't necessarily mean it's real or everything's authentic, but what it means is that's what they fall cool and hip in their own artistic way of putting it in there. And when you got somebody like Jim Kelly, the other Jim Kelly, like we're saying here in chat with Ed Brewer, it's cool because the only thing that was radically different to me in the 70s when it comes to culture that I really appreciate with martial arts, martial obviously is fighting, but art is the application, is the TV show Kung Fu with David Carradine, where it was really a non-violent type film. It's very passive kind of thing. And here you've got in this movie, you've got him kicking the crap out of tons of people. You got the slow motion things. It's cool. It's hip. He's making his own sounds. And the reason why is because he's supposed to be like the Black Bruce Lee, and the guy that was involved in the film. There's history and all that stuff. And I'm not trying to turn this into a history lesson, but the idea is, hey, we're going to make you a star. And they want to emphasize all that. And even into the 90s and early 2000s, you had people goofing it up in movies like Undercover Brother doing the exact same thing.
Sure. Yeah. Nowadays, you are not allowed to direct something unless if you're directing a black exploitation movie, and you have to be black yourself. You have to be a black writer. It's the point where they'd rather adhere to their social justice, virtue signaling, versus getting the right person who's going to write the best story stuff, and it ruins everything. I like this, didn't matter who or what color or what race or what gender you are, you were able to write something, and if it was good, it was passed. If it was crap, it passed up. Like I said, society has become stupid. So I love watching movies back in the 70s, in 80s, and 60s. I would say from the 40s to the late 80s is pretty much where Hollywood really succeeded with a lot of films, TV series, because there was no there was critics, but the critics didn't control what was made and what wasn't made, to a certain point. But like I said, I love the fact they're able to just get away with the comedy in this. It kind of felt like, in some instances like Dukes of Hazzard, or just lighthearted comedy. It wasn't very offensive. Didn't need to be offensive. You could just get away with, just doing physical humor.
Yeah. And we've covered here on the Xtreme Movie Show a few films, like we've done Patrick Swayze in that Roller Disco one, which that was the thing at the time. We've done a lot of the Chuck Norris movies starting early on, and in the 70s you had kind of this big rig trucker type phenomenon that lasted a couple years. We talk about different fashion things that go on. In the 80s, we talked about certain type of films that came on there, the canon classics. This guy here, Fred Weintraub, or whatever his name is, who was responsible for this movie, he did Jim Cotta, one of the movies we've talked about years ago because it's so memorable. And he did The Big Brawl with Jackie Chan. I mean, the guy's not a one-off. Like I say, they put a lot of support around him to make Jim Kelly look as successful as possible.
Did you know the director was actually completely deaf?
No, because I don't really do deep dives on it.
This guy, Robert Clouse, I was reading up on him. He was completely deaf, and he had to rely on the assistant directors to help him out when they came to the movie, doing stuff, relaying information. Yeah. I was like, dang, that's crazy. It's like,
Well, one of the things I'll say that's different about this film compared to, say, a Chuck Norris film is that in here we get a lot of Bruce Lee type. Well, that's true. We get a lot of Bruce Lee type action with the hitting. And Bruce Lee, one of the particular styles that jumps out to me as far as what you see with the way it's shot, and I'm not talking about, it's this type of kung fu mixed with that or whatever styles that way. I'm talking more from the cinematic perspective, is Bruce Lee would have it where you'd have like what I call like a rebound strike. So it's wah wah, bam. Or you'd have one big thing, and of course you'd have the shaky fist in the eyes looking or whatever. And Jim Kelly's got that down, so he took that and he owned it, made it his own little style with it too. But obviously he's taller, his lanky, he's got a different build. When you see the fight with them, and this is funny with black people and comps that they decided to do, and that's kind of the poking fun at, having fun at it, is he's having the fight out there in the parking lot, and he's beating up people and he's bashing heads through windows and all this stuff, and then he finishes off the last guy on the cop car. And
he's got his orange, he's got his drink, and he's got his bag of donuts, whatever. He's like, what the heck's going on? Like, car window smash, he got goons all over the place. I love how that opening scene. These guys out there gonna among these guys coming out of the studio, and because Jim Kelly sneaks up behind him, he runs and he jumps behind him in slow motion. So basically, if you watch like the Hulk, the Incredible Hulk show, when he dropped, goes, you hear the noise, and then you see him slow motion land down.
Yep.
Same thing. I love it. And the last guy, he beats the crap out of these guys. The last guy thinks he's gonna run away. He grabs a gun from one of the guys, shoots a guy in the ass running away, and then gets in his car and drives away. Now, the note for this is that he's basically a hero for hire. For those who read comic books, Luke Cage, hero for hire, was a big thing of Marvel. Another character. He basically worked, and so basically that's what he was. He was a karate martial arts, for hire. Yep. Because at first I thought, like, is he a cop at first? I'm like, no, he's not. He's just he's a bodyguard. And like I said, like, dude is freaking tall. At least because he's 6 foot. I think 6'2", but he's langly though. He's kind of like skinny at first. I was like, okay, we're gonna go with this, and then all of a sudden he goes, what? I was like, oh, we're going with this kind of movie. All right, I'll see where they're going. I'm like, now I like Chuck Norris movies, but I love this as a different style. Chuck is always kind of the serious kind of guy.
Agreed.
Yes, this is more like this is I would say tongue in cheek. I said, he's just having fun with when he beats up the guys inside the dojo. Just overall, he goes up and like, this is a smooth talking brother. He walks down to the beach, and these girls, white girls, jumping on a trampoline. I'm thinking, like, are we going Blazing Saddles here? What's going on here? and like, of course, what was one of the girls' name was Pickles? I was like, what? That's just the names for some of these girls. He's like, I need to hear it. Help me. He's like, I'll pay you $5,000 just for each for a day, and then you get an additional 10. I was like, what? So they're like, sure, we'll go with you. And he teaches them how to like fire grapple hooks because they're gonna break into this place and like steal photos and all that stuff, and the wine place, and just laughing, and like they're all wearing the ski masks and dressed in black. It just looked like if you're watching like a Baywatch movie in a sense where they're like, they get the hot girls. All right, now we're gonna do this. All right, VIP with Pamela Anderson. At that point, I was like, this is so cheesy, but I can't stop watching it because I'm just laughing and having fun. Like I said, it's all the way through. It's a creative story. It's it's entertaining. It doesn't matter how old you are. It's not vulgar. It's we see something come back to play as far as that where Pinky, these guys, they're thinking they're gonna hold up Pinky, and like selling, you capitalist pig, selling dope in our town, and it's like he's like, listen, you socialist motherfuckers.
Yeah,
he's calling them communists, and I'm just like, and he's like,
Harry films that we went over, right?
Oh my god,
70s.
Yeah,
that was a big thing getting played out in pop culture at the time, was the effect of communism on stuff, and people trying to turn that the man being a capitalist pig scum, when really it's kind of like the opposite, depending on how you choose to view that. That's just one of those things that's kind of interesting, that the man is the one that always holds you down. But the man back in the day was the government, the long arm of the law, the police. It was not corporations per se. So it's kind of interesting because this film, like to your point, I think it's very valid, is that they do kind of do this tongue in cheek, but the messages are there. If you're looking for that, they're not really, it's not a dive deep on them, but it's presenting the black experience through the eyes of what it'd be like from that culture than, say, watching a Chuck Norris movie when he's trying to be a bit more serious with the points he's making, especially about how, like with Vietnam type films, where people come back from the war, how United States didn't want to win them. And that's getting a little deep, but that's the whole thing with blaxploitation is people think, oh, black people are getting exploited. No. We're not type of films through their own eyes, and it's nice. It's cool. It's great.
They use that term in jest.
Yeah, like it has a negative connotation.
Like they know it, and they know people are going to be oh, you're just you're just using and making fun of us. And he's like, no, we're taking that, we're using it as a strength because we know that there's people out there who are ignorant. I like how they took the word back and like just use it and almost in not strength, but like in spit in their face. Hey, yeah. we know what we're doing here, and you don't have you don't have to like it. If you don't like it, cool. I miss that. you know, with the
Mm-hmm.
with people in general. It's just we cater to idiots now. The
Well, I'll
few,
close with
yeah,
this.
yeah,
I think it's a fun film. I think it's everything you said. I just wanted to point out to anybody checking
yeah,
this film out that when we've said before how Chuck Norris has his style of movies and Van Damme, here we've got Jim Kelly or blaxploitation generally speaking, but also martial arts. It's cool because you can see for a good 20-year run here in '70s into the '80s and dying off in the '90s, where we had a lot of different styles of things. I always bring up Jeff Speakman with Perfect Weapon and his type of karate that didn't take off, but at least there was an environment for that to potentially flourish. And here, like I say, this is definitely worth watching and checking out, not just culturally, but it's a decent film, and it definitely captures the spirit of the time. And I liked it a little bit more than I thought it was going to be because it's been forever since I've seen this movie, and I think I might have seen something edited. Because to your point, some of the wordplay kind of shocked me a little bit. Not because it's graphic, but because I was like, oh, I wasn't expecting that. I
yeah.
don't remember that.
They do drop the N word a lot in this movie. So if you're offended by that, this isn't your movie then, probably.
But it depends on the way
But it's not used. It's not used in a derogatory name.
Correct.
It's used. It's addressing each other in this stuff.
It is
You
a
don't-
family
there's-
thing,
Yeah,
like brother.
yeah,
Yeah,
pretty
I
much.
agree.
Like I said, it's just everyone in this. You can tell it's supposed to be a feel good, happy movie because one of the mob guys, his name is Big Tuna. That's the enforcers.
The big
And then you get the Don, and he's like, only walk on his right side. Okay. So you get Pinky's running over the other side, for no reason. They don't tell. Is he deaf? Can you only hear on the right side? But Pops, while you see him walk out, and you need to talk to Pop. He's gonna get, he's in trouble and stuff. And you see him walking down the street, see these ladies walk by, he slaps their ass, and they kind of like look at him offended. He's just smiling, laughing. It's crazy, man. And he's like,
fun to talk about. Some are fun to when you talk about them don't sound good, but then they are. This movie's kind of fun to talk about, but it's also kind of fun to watch. It does check both boxes.
Is it in an Internet Archive? I found it through 1, 2, 3 movies, but I'm sure it's for sale. And I think it was on Amazon, actually. I think. So I'm not sure.
I have seen this movie. We almost did it about a year ago for around Father's Day, and it was available on Tubi at the time. I don't think it was on Tubi this time. I'm trying to recall where I saw because I've got a copy of it myself. But Black Belt Jones, I know the trailer at least is on the Internet Archive, so I know that we've talked sometimes occasionally where, hey, this is what's playing on Netflix right now or Tubi and everything else there too. Pretty interesting there that you think about it. And all I do is I see the trailer. That's it on Internet Archive.
I think it's on. Shows it's on Vudu. You can.
Okay.
It's also available on Amazon Prime with a premium subscription. So basically, if you have Prime, it should be on there. YouTube is for $3. You can probably watch the official thing, or I'm sure you can find the actual. Someone uploaded the video. It's so old. Google Play, movies and TV, but I think Vudu is rent. I'm not sure, or it might be just you can actually buy it for $3.99. But
to be honest, sometimes the public library's got it. It's just one of those things too. Where I've known some people go, "Hey, I can find it there, but nowhere else."
I would try Shout Factory, maybe, or just try your half price books, maybe, or if you have what's it called? I have a exclusive company. It's like it used to be called Exclusive. They basically dealt with movies and CDs and stuff. That's all they were. They're basically like the old record stores.
Right.
Yeah. There might be one down in. I know there's one in Florida somewhere.
Yes.
I know that. Yeah. But as far as so basically, I would check with places where they're able to order movies. You should actually check Barnes and Noble. Barnes and Noble sometimes you can order movies for you if they don't have it.
Yeah. It's Black Belt Jones, guys. Check it out. Jim Kelly in it. The other Jim Kelly. It's a fun movie. It's definitely worth watching. And we're not making fun of it like we don't like it.
No, dude.
Generally a decent film.
I'm laughing because that's how great it is. Dude, this is a movie. When I heard about like, oh, Black Belt Jones, look what this is gonna be. It's like, oh, this is gonna be like because I've watched Shaft. I'm not a fan of Shaft, the original Shaft. I know some people are. So I was like, what's gonna be better than that? And then it surprised me. This just blew my mind. I'm like, this is what I want from movies today. If you're gonna do a comedy movie, do something like this. You're not afraid to drop things.
Right.
It's I liked the remake with Chef with Samuel L. Jackson. I did like that.
I feel sorry for you, but
only because I would say only because it's like I said, it was that's what I watched. I had never seen a lot of these movies before because mainly because I didn't have them availability. I didn't have available.
Exactly, that's what we talk about.
Or I didn't know about them, so that's why you found an app that plays it for free, dude. On Roku TV, Roku is going crazy. Roku, dude. Not to go off topic, but Roku, I saw now has like internet, home security now. Through Roku. I was like, what?
Yep.
it's Roku's like going crazy now. It's like you're gonna have Roku TV. You got Roku TVs. You got Roku this. Here's Roku and installs in your car so you can watch movies.
Yeah. Roku's interesting thing that we'll talk about here in the future as we review what's coming up here for the summer movies and all that too. But yeah, guys, check it out. Black Belt Jones. Anything you need to plug real quick here, RDV?
Not much. Half an hour, I'm gonna be over on Geeky Pup Show talking about the books coming out this week and some comic book news. So if you want to be interested in that, I'll see you over there. And then this, I believe this Sunday on Xtreme Movie Show, we'll be doing another movie. A little earlier, I think like 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern.
We'll be doing Dragon Slayer, I believe, is the film. That's I think 82. A little bit different than Crawl, so we were sticking with the 80s fantasy there for a little bit, and then we've got a couple of things on a short list for Tuesday too. If you got any recommendations, anything you'd like us to give the extreme treatment to, let us know, by all means too. And of course, I want to say thanks to the people that's retweeted. Some new people jumped up on my Twitter account. I'm almost up to 100 followers, but it's always nice to spend a few moments going over something that we have a lot of fun with. Hopefully, in this case, we definitely did, and getting the word out about us too. So,
and if you haven't already done so, please subscribe. We're trying to get to 1,000. We're instantly inching there. We're always appreciative of people who share out the channel, subscribe, and then he said if you haven't done so, click the bell so you get all notifications. And pretty much know that we basically go on Sundays around like 7 p.m. Eastern, I believe, or 6 p.m. Yeah, 7 p.m. Eastern. And then also here we're doing right around the same time.
Tuesdays 8 p.m. Eastern.
8 p.m. Eastern, yeah. So this
keep
those in mind.
Tuesday earlier on Sunday too with something else. That's the other extremist on our channel.
Extreme Pixel Fingers.
All right, guys, have a good night. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. As always, stay extreme.